Because on that day, Poseidon did not destroy Olympus, but did something perhaps even greater. He proved to the whole world that even the sky can shake before the power of the sea. Before men ever learned to fear the sea, an ancient force was already sleeping beneath the waters of the world. When the Titans fell and the cosmos was divided, Poseidon's fate rose like a tide no one could hold back. When the seas were given to him as his kingdom, he inherited not only endless waters, but the untamed pulse of the earth itself. In the depths, his trident shone for the first time, as if the entire ocean had finally found its voice. With a single motion, Poseidon carved paths through the waves and taught the sea to bend to his will. Before long, ships, harbors, and temples lived beneath the restless blessing of a god, as magnificent as he was unpredictable. They said even horses were born from the foam when Poseidon's power first touched the surface of the world. But where there was beauty, there was also danger, because the same god who guided the tides could also drown empires. In the cities along the coast, his name was spoken with reverence, but never without the weight of silent fear. Deep beneath the sea, Poseidon raised a palace worthy of a king who would never allow himself to be forgotten. He crossed abysses and storms as the absolute lord of everything that roared between the continents. And the more the world bowed before the sea, the more Poseidon's pride swelled within him. From the heights of Olympus, Zeus watched his brother of the deep with the calm of one who recognized dangerous power. Between sky and sea, there was still peace, but there was no longer any innocence between two gods born to rule. While the gods celebrated on Olympus, the deep waters kept a silence too heavy to be called peace. Then the trident struck the ocean floor, and the earth itself seemed to wake in fear. Mountains trembled, ancient pillars groaned, and the world discovered that Poseidon could shake stone as easily as water. Along the coasts of Greece, the harbors shook, as if the ground itself no longer knew whom to trust. The waves rose higher, colder, and more alive, as if the sea itself were breathing anger. Messengers raced to Olympus with word that the realm of the sky could already feel the force of the sea's blow. Zeus rose in silence because even the Lord of the heavens understood the weight of that warning. Far away, Poseidon stared toward Olympus through the storm, like a king measuring the height of his next challenge. For the first time, the throne of the sky and the throne of the sea seemed too close to exist in peace. Thunder answered the sea, and the whole horizon became a warning between immortal brothers. And so, even before the great collision, Olympus was already trembling at the thought that Poseidon did not want only to rule, but to be feared. At the heart of Olympus, Zeus raised his lightning bolt in silence, and even the clouds seemed to wait for the sea's reply. Far from there, Poseidon drove the tides upward around the sacred islands, as if he were encircling the world with his own will. In the coastal cities, altars burned without rest, because no one knew whether it was still time to beg forgiveness or time to flee. Zeus hurled a thunderbolt at the horizon, not to destroy, but to remind the sea that the sky still ruled above it. Poseidon answered at once, raising a wall of water so immense that even the sacred mountain fell beneath the ocean's shadow. In that instant, sky and sea ceased to be distant realms and began to breathe against one another like living enemies. Zeus descended to the edge of the storm, where the air already smelled of salt, and thunder drifted too close to the foam. On the other side, Poseidon emerged through black waves like an ancient king, come to collect a debt the heavens had long forgotten. The two brothers stood face to face without a word, and the whole world understood that peace had ended before the first blow was ever struck. When lightning met the trident, light exploded across the sea as if fate itself had split in two. The shock tore through temples, valleys, and caves, leaving mortals with the certainty that the gods were no longer holding back their strength. Doors were barred, ships were cast loose to chance, and the coasts of Greece sank into a fear no one could name. Deep within Poseidon, that war was no longer born of fury alone, but of the old wound of never accepting any place beneath the sky. For him, ruling the seas was no longer enough, because the power that moves continents also longed to break the pride of Olympus. Zeus understood then that he faced more than an angry brother, because before him stood a will ready to redraw the order of the world. The second impact was even more brutal, and the cloud bridges of Olympus trembled while the sea roared against the sacred stone. Lightning tore the waters open into blazing channels, but Poseidon closed the ocean again as if the sea had a will of its own. Then the trident fell once more, and the steps of Olympus shuddered as if the sacred mountain itself might fall to its knees. For the first time, the columns of the heavenly palace groaned loudly enough to spread unease among the gods. Outside, the sea surged up the slopes like a faceless army, climbing where only the wind had ever dared to go. Zeus gathered the full strength of the clouds above his head, and the whole sky began to turn like a living crown of storm. Poseidon did not retreat, and every wave that answered his arm seemed to declare that the sea would never return to silence. The next collision erased the horizon, because thunder, foam, and stone became one furious mass before the eyes of the world. When the mist parted for a single moment, the waters could be seen touching the gates of Olympus, and the impossible no longer seemed far away. In that brief second, even Zeus understood that the sea had come not only to challenge the sky, but to take what had always seemed untouchable. Then Zeus descended the final step of Olympus, because there was no longer any safe distance between the wrath of the sky and the fury of the sea. Before him, Poseidon raised the trident one last time, and the entire ocean seemed to rise with the arm of its king. The first blow of the climax came not as sound, but as a crushing silence that locked the air before the collision. When lightning and trident crashed together again, the sky split open in light, and the sea answered with a living wall. The waters climbed the sides of the sacred mountain, and for one instant Olympus itself seemed small before the force of Poseidon's will. But Zeus tore open the clouds with his own hands, and a crown of storm descended upon his head like a divine sentence. The sky answered in pillars of thunder so violent that the whole ocean seemed to glow from within. Even so, Poseidon drove forward through the storm, as if every bolt of lightning only reminded him that no power would ever make him kneel. The trident struck the stone of Olympus, and the impact raced through the mountain as if the world had found a crack within itself. Temples shook, bridges of cloud gave way, and for the first time the gods tasted the real possibility of falling. Below, along the coasts of Greece, sea and sky seemed to merge, as if creation itself were about to lose its balance. That was when Zeus saw beyond the war itself to the ruin of everything, and understood that victory would mean nothing if the world broke with it. He gathered the last of the thunder not to crush his brother, but to tear sky and sea apart before they sank together. The blaze cut across the horizon from end to end, and a line of light divided the fury of the elements before the eyes of the immortals. Poseidon held fast for one last instant, But even the king of the deep understood that to keep fighting meant drowning the very world he ruled. Then the waters faltered, and in that rare moment of retreat, Olympus drew breath again. Zeus remained standing among lightning and ruin, not as an absolute victor, but as the guardian of a balance nearly lost. On the side of the sea, Poseidon lowered his trident without surrender, carrying in his silence the strength of one who could still make the world tremble. The ocean withdrew from the sacred steps, but left upon the stones a warning that even the gods can be reached by fear. In the cities of Greece, men looked upon the sea with a new kind of reverence, as if they had seen the limits of their own safety disappear. From that day on, Poseidon's name was no longer merely invoked, but feared even when the sea appeared calm. On Olympus, the columns were raised again, but no divine hand forgot the sound of the mountain groaning beneath the trident's blow. Poseidon returned to the depths as an unbroken king, carrying with him not defeat, but proof that even the sky could tremble. And whenever storms darken the horizon, it still feels as though the sea remembers the day it almost claimed the throne of the heavens. Because on that day, Poseidon did not destroy Olympus, but did something perhaps even greater. He proved to the whole world that even the sky can shake before the power of the sea. If you love mythology, mystery, and epic storytelling, this channel was made for you. Subscribe now.